Hello, my name is Keith Machowski, and I'm a volunteer with the National Park Service here at Governor's Island National Monument in New York Harbor. The years 2014 to 2019 mark the 100th anniversary of the First World War. It may surprise you to know that a great deal of World War I history took place right here on Governor's Island. I'm standing right now on Hay Road. Like many visitors to Governor's Island, I once believed that Hay Road was named after John Hay, Abraham Lincoln's personal secretary, and later the Secretary of State in the William McKinley and Theodore Roosevelt administrations. That proved to be incorrect. Hay Road is actually named after Merle Hay. Private Merle Hay was one of the first Americans to have been killed in the First World War. He was a member of Company F of the 16th Infantry Regiment of the 1st Infantry Division, the Big Red One. The 16th Infantry Regiment shipped out in the summer of 1917. It was this regiment that made the famous trek to Picpus Cemetery in Paris, the final resting place of Lafayette. And it was here that one of their commanding officers made the famous declaration, "Nous sommes ici Lafayette, Lafayette, we are here." The 16th Infantry Regiment trained throughout the summer and fall of 1917, and on November 3rd of that year found themselves in their first hard fight against the Germans. The fighting was short but intense and even involved hand-to-hand combat. By the time it was all over, 3 Americans were dead, one of whom was Merle David Hay. The 3 were given a full burial near Battlement, but that was not destined to be Merle Hay's final resting place. In the early 1920s, he was reinterred and sent back to his hometown of Glidden, Iowa, where he rests today. In the early 1920s, the 16th Infantry Regiment made its home here on Governor's Island, and it was in November of 1926 that a ceremony was held behind me on Regimental Row. Present at that ceremony were generals such as Robert Lee Bullard and Charles P. Summerall, who at different times during their careers had commanded the 1st Infantry Regiment. It was on one of the trees behind me that they placed a plaque, since gone, in the memory of Merle Hay and the 2 other Americans, the first 3 to have been killed in the First World War. I'm standing now in front of the chapel of St. Cornelius the Centurion. In 1927, 10 years after the death of Merle Hay, Charles P. Summerall was back here on Governor's Island, and by this time he was the U.S. Army Chief of Staff. It was here in the chapel of St. Cornelius that Charles P. Summerall spoke in November of 1927, and it was also here that they laid a more permanent plaque in the memory of Merle Hay and the 2 other Americans killed in November of 1917. In the ensuing decades, the veterans of foreign wars, the American Legion, and other veterans groups will come here to Governor's Island to pay their respects to men such as Merle Hay. This is just one of the fascinating stories you will hear on Governor's Island National Monument.